Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, in this video we're going to speak about Al-Idgham. So as we've covered before, one of the things that we study in Tajweed is tafa'ul al-huruf, the interaction that happens when specific types of letters come into contact with each other and come adjacent to each other. One of those specific types of letters where these special effects, quote unquote, will happen is the nun as-sakin and the tanween. When these two letters, or when these two things come in contact with other types of letters, there are four possible relationships that they can have with those other letters. There's either al-idhar, or al-idgham, or al-qalb, or al-ikhfa. And we've covered each and every single one of them in separate videos. In this video, we're going to cover al-idgham. Al-idgham is that you're going to mix the nun as-sakina, so the nun with a sukoon on it, or the tanween with the following letters. Because that's what al-idgham means. Al-idgham means mixing, or to mix. So for example here, instead of saying min wara'ihim, I'm going to say min wara'ihim, min. So I'm mixing the noon with the waw to say min instead of min. Why am I doing this? Because of idgham, and we're going to cover when that happens in this video. So al-idgham is that you mix the nun as-sakina or the tanween with the following letters: the ya, the ra, the mim, the lam, the waw, the nun. So with these letters here, any single time you see a ya, or a ra, or a mim, or a lam, or a waw, or a nun coming after a nun as-sakina or a tanween, you're going to do al-idgham, you're going to mix. So this rule only happens when the nun as-sakina or the tanween comes before one of these six letters. So for example, here there's a ya, which is part of ya manun. So ya manun is the acronym to remember these six letters. So I recommend that you memorize it. So if someone asks you, what are the idgham letters? You're going to say the idgham letters are ya manun, yani those six letters in that word. So here we have a nun as-sakina, right? And it's followed by one of the ya manun letters, which is the ya. So I'm going to say, instead of saying man ya'mal, I'm going to say man ya'mal. Here we have a tanween on the dal. So I'm going to say, instead of saying yawma idhin na'ima, instead of saying that, I'm going to say yawma idhin na'ima, yawma idhin na'ima. So I'm mixing the tanween with the following letter, which is a noon. Why? Because the noon is one of the yarmanun letters. Okay, so this is what al-idgham is in a brief. Now that being said, al-idgham has two categories, or there are two types of idgham. Okay, so al-idgham has two categories with the following letters. Okay, the red letters are with ghunna, and the blue letters are without ghunna. So ghunna is the nasal sound that comes from your nose when you're saying the noon or the tanween. That nasal sound is going to be present with all the red letters when you're doing idgham. So with the red letters, so the ya, the mim, the waw, the noon, when you're doing idgham with these, you'll mix the noon as-sakina or the tanween with the letters yanmu, yani the ya, the noon, the mim, and the waw, while doing the nasal sound. So with these here, you're actually going to do the nasal sound. So with these four, you're going to do the nasal sound. You're going to say min wara'ihim, man ya'mal, and so on and so forth. So you can clearly hear the nasal sound from my nose when I'm saying all of these, or when I'm mixing these two letters together. On the other hand, sometimes al-idgham is going to happen without ghunna. And this is going to happen with the ra and the lam. Here, you're going to mix the nun as-sakina, the tanween, with the letters ra and the letters lam, while not doing the nasal sound. So the nasal sound is not going to be heard. So for here, I'm going to say al-rabbihim, al-rabbihim. So I'm mixing the noon with the ra, but you're not hearing any nasal sound. You're not hearing meow, meow. You're not hearing the nasal sound. You're not hearing the ghunna. You're just hearing the noon without the ghunna. Al-rabbihim. So with the ra and the lam, you're going to do idgham. You're going to mix the noon or the tanween with the ra or with the lam, but it's not going to be with the ghunna. It's not going to be with the nasal sound. So these are the two different types of idgham, depending on what is the letter coming after. If it's one of the yanmu letters, right? So the letters in red here, then it's going to be with ghunna. But if it's done with the lam or the ra, it's going to be without ghunna, like al-rabbihim. So to see some examples, here we have examples of nun as-sakinah. al-rabbihim فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ مَنْ يَعْمَلْ. Examples of the tanween. عَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ فَعَّالٌ لِمَا فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ مَا نَوَّ. So this is Al-Idgham. So what you want to remember is that Al-Idgham is that you mix the nun as-sakinah, the tanween, with the following letters, يَعْمَلُونَ. For 4 of those letters is going to be with ghunna, which is yanmu. So those 4 letters in yanmu is going to be with ghunna, like man ya'mal. But with the ra and the lam, it's going to be without ghunna, so you're not going to hear the nasal sound, like fa'alun lima and arabbihim. And that in a brief sense is what al-ghunna is.